Oh, that's a great idea. I need to get one of those. So thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really excited to be able to share with you how I like to encourage my students and motivate them using virtual worlds and transmedia. So I want to check to see if you guys can hear me and do a little housekeeping, or in my case growing up it was rearranging. I didn't clean, we rearranged. So let me check if you guys can hear me. Can you give me some yeses, please?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you guys. So my talk today is have the courage to encourage origin story lessons. So let me give you a few links before I get going. I have my slides available for you at this link. And I also want to encourage you to go investigate my poster session. And there's a link actually inside the set of books if you buy them for 0 lindens. To check out my poster session and try out the superpowers there. Take some pictures. I would love to have some photos if you guys take any while you're there. Okay, so how many of you guys know what an origin story is? Typically, they're related to superheroes. So an origin story is a tale about how a superhero came into being, defining their catalyst, their transformation, and their mission. And I like to use the idea of a superhero as a way for students and instructors and most people I work with to think about themselves possibly in the third person. It does not have to be a fictional version of yourself. I believe that superheroes are our great strengths, and we also have to balance them with our weaknesses. So a little bit about me in the third person. How's that sound? You know how we all have to put together our little bios about ourselves, so this is mine. I'm very fortunate that I've had many opportunities to share my work and be able to lecture with a number of my colleagues as well. It's a pleasure to be able to do this conference. It means a lot to me, and I really enjoy getting to hear what others have to share as well. I'd like to think that I add all of these great items to my utility belt. How about you guys? Are you getting lots of good stuff? Awesome. And if you're looking for me online, you can find many links to my website. Excellent. Okay, thank you for letting me share that information. So, we know in virtual worlds that we cannot judge those based on their appearance, right? But we need to also find out what is inside. So what inside counts? What is your story? How do you express yourself? How do people find out that you are a superhero and you've gone through many exciting things to become the fabulous person you are now? Do you put it in your profile? Do you share it readily? Does your sim identify who you are? Lots of different things. Now I teach multimedia web and video and art, and I like to use virtual worlds like Second Life to bring my students in to connect. I have students who are on campus and online, And in Second Life, they get to meet. It's a safe place for them to be able to engage and share lots of different parts about themselves. Now, sometimes, people get a little concerned that virtual worlds are a certain deviant place to be, but we know better, right? We also know that we can expose ourselves as avatars in many other mediums in social media. Now, I typically have my students participate in social media. They have to write a blog. They also develop websites, their YouTube channel full of videos. So I get them out there all places. So then it's important that they realize that they are the same throughout any medium. So I try to encourage people to connect in person and in world. Now, I know not everyone likes to do this, but I do. And since who I am is part of my story, and how I appear is part of my story, do you have elements of yourself within your avatar? Your superhero story? So I like to think about using the symbol for superpowers. What's one of your superpowers? Do you know? Do you wear it as a badge? Is it creativity? Is it inspiring others? Now, of course, I'm encouraging you guys to answer my questions. Don't be shy. That's definitely not one of my superpowers. So there's elements of an origin story. Just like any other story, we have different parts that we want to be able to investigate. I'm going to focus on a few of these things. And I'm trying to include a little bit of text within chat that are on the slides. So I allow the students to define who they are. I encourage them to think about how their settings have affected them, and I try to get them to introduce themselves in the form of a story. Sometimes that can be a video, sometimes that can be a one-sheet introduction, sometimes I make them create cootie catchers or fortune tellers that include information about them and their favorite colors. So why do superhero origin stories inspire us? Because most of the time they're about overcoming adversity, going through a difficult thing and coming out the better, and also being able to improve the world around you. Now we know that in most stories you could go either way. You could have something happen to you and you could go for the good, or you can go down the path of bad. The other reason why origin stories are very interesting to me is because it's about being creative and solving problems. I know that I get really excited when my students come up with a solution for one of their problems. I give them the terminology to always utilize when something comes up, which is solutions, not excuses. So let's look at the different parts of an origin story. So we have the pre-hero and isolation, the catalyst and tragedy, mutation and transformation, opportunity and education, acceptance and mission, and superhero, becoming the superhero, and building connections. Now, I'm very interested in what motivates people. I usually try to go through the origin story with the students to find out what their motive is, what will get them going. So I like to also create opportunities within the classroom to do these things. To be able to create opportunities that build confidence, to saturate their unique intentions and mission with everything they do, to trust, give them trust, and encourage their independence. Also give them permission to pursue proficiency. So when they get really excited about something, I say, go for it, man. I also challenge them to foster connections and build teams, to be efficient and friendly. And I ask them to expand their perspective and to practice compassion. Now, does this sound like something that I actually do in a video class? Yes. And when we're in world, it gives them a chance to engage with others unlike them, to be able to ask them the tough questions, to be able to participate actively with them. So let's look at these different parts. So we have the pre-hero. This is where we start out alone. Pre-hero is trying to distinguish themselves. You know, they've got things to do, they've got things to share, they're always improving themselves, but they feel a little isolated in the process. It can be frustrating. It's a tender time for them. And when you have pre-heroes in the classroom, you really want to encourage them. They're not alone, even though they feel like they are. So most superheroes go through some kind of catalyst or tragedy. Now, this catalyst doesn't necessarily have to be a negative thing, but quite often it is. Something happens with everything. Your perspective changes, your world changes. That's one reason why it's excellent to be able to use virtual worlds to explore different places, to get that different perspective. These tragedies or catalysts will launch the pre-hero into superheroism. Now sometimes someone's tragedy becomes someone's success or savior. Now I reward badges in my classroom, and if they quote the right movies, they get badges accordingly. So you can see I've got the red stapler from Office Space. Whoever quotes it first in class wins it. They also understand not to hurt people, not to bully people, to encourage them, or they're going to burn the whole place down. Now, when they encounter problems, I always tell the students that an impediment is an opportunity. You never know what you're going to learn from it. So I say that, you have a few options in front of you. That you can go with the flight, fight, fix, freeze, facilitate, forfeit, feign, or get some fondue. These reactions are very important, very telling. It also helps you understand how to motivate students. Find out what maybe they're afraid of, what they want to work on, based on something that is a problem. That moves us into mutation and transformation. So, sometimes people wonder about our mutation. I often talk about that a mutation simply can be learning more. That you've changed your perspective. You've gained more information. Your brain has changed. We are mutating all the time with cosmic rays, and we transform. These catalysts that happen to us do transform us. Is there a reason why you're an educator, that you're a student? I know within my own high school, there is a lot of us who went into education, and we always wonder, what is that? It's because we had great teachers and terrible ones. So we wanted to be able to improve the system and to be able to highlight. Within this transformation, sometimes people need to put on disguises. Again, this is a place where virtual worlds are very effective. It gives you a chance to try out this new persona, or hide your normal, mild-mannered self. It's a safe place to experiment. It's a place that you find out if others are accepting of this new, transformed person. Once you've gone through this and you've seen that people are actually really thrilled with what you have to offer, then we get into acceptance. So let's see. I'm trying to see if some of my slides are a little mixed up. There we go. Acceptance and your mission. Now, I always encourage people to pursue excellence. I say that it's great to become the best you can be. It doesn't mean you have to be better than others. There's enough room in the sky for all of us to be stars. Do you like to encourage people to be their best self? When you are your best self, you find that you're thrilled with what's going on. You're participating actively. You also can support others who are pursuing excellence as well. So some of you may have seen these slides before about how you can figure out what your mission is. So I have a couple different categories. I ask people, how do they want to engage in the world? Do they want to affect? Do they want to have an exchange? Do they want to just observe? Or do they want to analyze? Do you find that you're in one of those categories? We can shift over to some more images with this. The affecting, so that's action. The exchange is communication. Observation, that's reporting what you see around you. And analyzing, wow, thinking about it, approving it, and encouraging someone to move forward on it. And maybe you've seen this slide as well. To do, express, feel, and to think. Quite often in the classroom, I have my students have to stand in specific corners of the room based on these things. And they beg and plead to be able to be in two corners at the same time. Some of them want to run around so they can be in all sectors. Some of them realize that they're very good at one thing. Some of them realize that they have a weakness in one of the others. And I encourage them to look across the room and find a partner who can balance them out, who can complement them. Do you have one of those people in your lives or in your classroom? Okay, I'm going to back up here because I misnumbered one of my slides. Okay, opportunity in education. I missed this one. Now, one of the things that we really enjoy is that we love to do training. We love to become experts at things, or at least try, right? Once you've had the transformation into a superhero, oh my, you just want to get better and better and better and better, right? And we're very fortunate that we have conferences like this to be able to showcase those ideas, those thoughts, what we're capable of, and encourage others to utilize them. We're very fortunate as educators that we get to be part of someone else's life, to bolster them up, that they've come to us to learn something more. We get to be the mentor. We get to be the Jedi Master that improves their journey. I don't know about you, but I find that the most thrilling and most humbling thing. I really enjoy it, and I'm very grateful every day that I get to stand in front of the classroom and encourage those students. We also need to encourage them to encourage the next group that comes along, right? All right. So the pre-hero has gone through being isolated and alone. They've gone through a traumatic experience that also makes them feel like they're separated from the world. They go through a transformation. And during that transformation, they realize, hey, maybe I'm not the only one who's gone through this. They feel like they're part of something again. They want to participate. And they find others that have had similar experiences, and it gives them a chance to get better, to improve themselves. So I often talk about how there's a core within the students. This core doesn't change much, and I compare it to a water molecule. A water molecule, regardless of the form that it takes, the substance remains the same. It can be a gas, it can be a liquid, it can be a solid. But the substance, the H2O, remains the same. That core is in there. And when we're asking the students to think about what their origin story is, they start to define what their core is as well. And when they understand their core, then they will find purpose in what they do. And when they find purpose in what they do, then they're motivated to learn more, to be more excellent at it. And they will try to encourage others to participate along with them. Now, students also can be very difficult if they're going to be these water molecules. Some of you may have them dancing about in the classroom. I know I encourage it sometimes in Second Life and sometimes in the real world. We definitely like to have a little disco in my classroom. Instead of having a final, I have the final of funk, so I get to play a lot of disco music and funk. It's a chance for them to be able to express themselves and also to encourage joy in them. Now, with these water molecules, we like to see them bond together and become snowflakes. I love to build teams in the classroom. When those teams get together, they stick together. But they also find similarities and connections with other teams within the classroom. And I always encourage them to think about that they get to fall on a common ground. They support each other. Now, I've been very fortunate that I've been able to work with the University of Washington's Virtual World program. I graduated in the first class, and then I got to be the mentor for 2 more years, and I continued to guest speak with the students. Part of being a superhero is to keep these connections going and to uplift and encourage others. So, what would be some activities for these superheroes? Well, because I'm really interested in identity, and I believe that if you can understand yourself, then you can understand others. And when you understand others, you understand yourself even more. So I have them develop their own brand. The idea of creating a distinct identity. This can be a logo, this can be an expression, this could be their avatar. Within virtual worlds, they can run around and investigate other brands. Because I teach website design, I often explain to the students that it's a three-dimensional environment, even though it looks like a flat surface when we're working on a website. And when they go and explore schools and art exhibits in a virtual world, they get it. They come back and want their flat screen, their flat website to just be as engaging and exciting, that each click is opening a new door. And along the way, they realize that they have to be distinct. They have to be memorable. They want people to favorite and bookmark and landmark what they've done. And I love to see how they utilize their brand throughout their entire time taking classes with me. They refine it. Or maybe they got it right the first time. Like I said before, when I ask them what their mission is, I have them define how they want to engage with the world. And that's a tough question sometimes. How do you want to engage with the world? Any thoughts? I know for myself, I like action. I like to see things happen. What about you? Well, maybe you'll tell me a little later. So, I mentioned before also that I try to get them to create an introduction story. And I have them publish it to their blog, and also have them continue to publish to their blog to document their progress. Because all superheroes have that story that we want to follow. And it's really fun to see when the students come back and they say, somebody made a comment on my blog. I posted a picture of this, and they commented back. I posted one of my videos, and somebody asked me if I could do their video for them. It's fabulous. And I love to get them out there. Often when I start class, trying to understand what's going to motivate them, I will ask them to define what success is. And it's very interesting, the different definitions of success. Sometimes it's an A. Sometimes it's just to get through the class. Sometimes it's to be able to document my fabulous shoes. It's important to ask students how they define success, because you want them. Because you understand their idea of success, then you can adapt and encourage them accordingly. Now, I like to do field trips in person and out there. I have them go to unique locations. Some of them may be familiar, some of them may be alien. I want to see some reactions out of them. Now, I live on the Olympic Peninsula in Washington State. It is a very isolated place. It's nearly, where I live, nearly is the most northern western part of the U.S., continental U.S. So we always say that we're at the end of the road where I live. So using Second Life and other virtual worlds and experiences really has improved my students' perspective. They may be at the end of the road, but they get to experience the entire world. And I appreciate you guys engaging with them. We'll give them little scavenger hunts and assignments, and then they come back, and then their job is to be the tour guide. We all hop in one of my canoes at my classroom, and we go on an adventure. And if I'm not there with them on the adventure, then I have reports of the exciting adventures that they've had in their canoe. And I've been very fortunate at my college that a lot of staff have also participated with me in Second Life. So I hear the most hilarious stories about how they've gone off and found exciting things in Second Life. People want to know, can they do that too? They share, and that's what's really important, to be able to share. Then they offer to take someone on a tour. Also within my classroom, I like to, what I call, share the black crayon. I like to have the students get to be the teachers. I bring guests in to teach as well. I think it's very important to let the student teach. I was very fortunate when I was young. I started in 2nd grade. My teachers let me run away from the classroom, do all the research I wanted to do, and then come back and teach my classmates. And I try to give my students that opportunity anytime. If there's something they're really interested in, I say, go ahead, learn it, and then come back and teach it for the rest of us. We're currently building a new green screen because one student expressed great interest. I'm also going to have to figure out how to do lightsabers this term because a number of students want lightsabers in their videos. I hope that they'll figure it out. I don't know if I can do it yet. Do you let your students teach you? It's very important. So, with that, I also have been very fortunate that I have students who tag along, that continue to take classes. I have some students who will, say, oh, I've taken this class like 4 times. It's not that Renee's a bad teacher. It's just that I learned something more and more each time. And so I encourage them to come in and teach students anytime they want. So after they've explored and figured out their origin story, I want to be sure that they're utilizing transmedia to share it. So what's transmedia? So transmedia is at least 3 different medias that you can tell a story through. So for example, that can be in world here, in a virtual world. It can be a video. It could be a paper. It could be a song. It could be a website. It could be all these exciting things. I often share with my students the game Journey. Are you familiar with it? It's amazing. In this game, not only do you have a game to play, but you can get books, and there's websites, and there's fan art, and all kinds of things about it. And I use that as a transmedia example. I also use the movie Buckaroo Banzai as a transmedia example. Because it was a movie, but we also ended up doing fan fiction. Lots of fantastic storytelling that you could embed yourself in that world. I also had a fake band that we did a mock rockumentary about that were part of the Buckaroo Banzai universe. And Buckaroo Banzai is actually a great example as well for my students to understand teams. That all those people have fantastic superpowers. Well, they're excellent skills and they can play an instrument. So they try to sort out, well, who would they be in the Hong Kong Cavaliers? So having them document what they've done, discovering about themselves, and different projects they've worked on, I try to be sure that they've included this information within their blogs, their social networks, if they've done videos or websites. Some of you and they definitely enjoy coming into a virtual world and experience it and documenting it. It adds a little excitement when their friends who are not familiar with what we do in this world come across it in their blog or on their Facebook posts. And it gives them a chance to share this secret, exciting world that we're doing and bring more in. Do you use transmedia in your classroom? It's an excellent way of sharing a story and also inviting others to engage in it directly. Because I have my students work on specific projects about being superheroes and learning how to build teams, I give them a set of complement characters. And these are little wooden figures that I pass out to them. They're almost like little peoples, but they're just solid colors. And I have them do a video about teamwork. And if they don't want to do the video, they can do a photo shoot and so forth. I've had videos done about, the retelling of the rabbit and the tortoise, where the rabbit gets kidnapped and doesn't win the race because his teammates take him out. Two of my students did a stop-motion video using their complement characters, and I have the direct link here for you so you can check it out. This is a 3-minute video that they did for a 3-minute video contest, and they got an honorable mention. I'm very proud of them. And they showcase exactly what we do in the classroom. So I'll give you 3 minutes to check it out, please. Let's see, while you're watching, maybe I'll do a little dance. How's that sound? Time. Please let me know when you're back. Thank you, Zoe. Isn't it funny? Yeah. And actually, this week I had those students who produced that video come into the classroom and teach my current students how to do a stop motion video. So that's what I'm talking about, to continue the cycle with superheroes. They definitely do encourage the next group. So, thank you for looking at the video. So let's look at the elements of our origin story again. We have the pre-hero in isolation, the catalyst in tragedy, mutation and transformation, opportunity and education, acceptance and the mission, and becoming the superhero and building connections. So I want to find out a little bit about you guys and what your origin story might be. Are you guys up for engaging before we go off to the next presentation? Excellent. Okay, so let's see. Why don't we jump right into, yes, let's be sure we do that. So let's agree we will talk for just a couple minutes, and then we can all pop over there and get a good seat. How's that sound? Okay, excellent. So why don't we just focus specifically on what might have been the catalyst for you to become an educator or to go to school. Do you want to share those stories? Now, I've been able to work with a few of you. I know it's kind of hard to think about, huh? So I know for myself, when I was 3 years old and I was in preschool, I became very frustrated with how some of the students would do some things that just didn't seem right. You know, that they weren't thinking about things. They weren't thinking about how their actions would affect others. And I know that right then and there, I had decided that I needed to educate others. So I took the time to tell the students what they were doing. I also took the time to tell the teachers what they were doing. And of course, I guaranteed that I got beat up on the playground quite a bit, but it was worth it. And I continue to do the same thing today. I probably use a little less macaroni and glitter, but I still try to do the same. So let's see. Okay, so to become an educator, you wanted to fill in the gaps that you had started working and to give back. So how do you give back? Is it the same idea? To be able to have people understand? I know! Wouldn't that be awesome, Graceful? Ah, excellent. So since you experienced the program, then you have excellent insight to inspire the next group of superheroes coming through. You will. Absolutely. So Zoe, you said that you had great mentors and teachers and they inspired you. Would they say a specific thing to you that would keep you going? That's wonderful. And isn't that important? That when you see that someone else believes in you, that you can believe in yourself all the more? You know, one thing I really love about being able to work in virtual worlds is that I get to be surrounded by superheroes all the time. Don't you guys get energized by that? I love it. I mean, there are times when, you know, in world, we're talking about stuff, and you just get those chills, right? It's pretty cool. Excellent. So it sounds like several of you have had catalysts, that you've had great teachers, you wanted to be able to give back. I can see Mary Lou's going to share something. I'm very fortunate that I get to work with Mary Lou's students often. Yes, absolutely. We give people a voice that may not normally have one. We let them know they're important, right? We're all very important. And you're right. You're empowering them, you empower yourself, and we can celebrate all those superpowers that are being defined and utilized. Yeah, Mary Lou, you've had great opportunities to be able to work with students in other places. They really do need that kind of encouragement. And they gave you some new insight as well, right? Isn't it great when we learn from our students? Quite often I ask folks, which do they prefer to be? A teacher or a student? And they often will say that a teacher is a lifelong student. I suspect a lot of us are in world because of that kind of option. I don't know if you guys can hear me, but sorry, Second Life kind of phased out there for a little bit. So guys, thank you so much for coming and joining me, and please encourage the superheroes around you and remember how important you are to them. And I want you to all know that encourage has courage in it. Thank you so much. And we'll see you guys at the keynote, and please, please, please visit my poster session and take some pictures. I would love to have some of them. It'd be great for me to be able to show next time. Thank you. We'll see you guys over there. Bye. And if you have any questions, you're welcome to ask me later, okay? So get your seat and we can talk some more later. Thank you. Aw, thank you. That's my lifelong passion is to be able to share color with folks. And if you want to learn more about my work in color theory, go visit my sim and you can see some lessons in that. Thank you. Oh, Mary Lou, thank you. And we need to talk. I've got reservations for Portland, so we're all set.